On Thursday, April 28th, in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, Battlefield Fight League held a stacked event featuring great Canadian MMA talent. This event was also broadcasted on UFC Fight Pass. In my opinion, the fight of the night had to be the highly entertaining, dynamic, and action-packed match between Nicolas Ouellet and Mateo Vogel for the BFL Featherweight Championship. Both competitors displayed tremendous talent, determination, resilience, and a relentless fighting spirit. In the end, the BFL Featherweight Championship was awarded to Mateo Vogel, who won the match via majority decision. I reached out to Mateo's MMA coach, Kru Jeff Harrison, from New Era Combat Sports here in Ottawa, to get his thoughts and perspectives on this match and Mateo's overall performance. All right, let's get to the interview.
We were training, like running hills and training in gazebos out in the street. And like, I was like, man, you should be an MMA fighter. And he's like, yeah, I've always wanted to do that, but like, some certain things got in the way. And we put this plan together. And to me, like that is just like such an important thing, is to help people actualize their dreams. Everyone that knows me knows I'm a sucker for the combat sports, right? And if someone has a goal or a dream in that, I'll do my best to help them facilitate, manifest that dream into a reality, right? So this is still only just the beginning. He's got a lot to work on, but what an amazing performance last night. It was truly a fight that everyone's talking about. UFC was talking about it. The UFC Fight Pass was talking about it. Promoters, like, that was the fight of the year so far, and like it was just a crazy grappling match. I like to put it. A throwback would be like, remember when Diego Sanchez fought Nick Diaz? It was just like two guys just like madness, man. Crazy jiu-jitsu.
It was very entertaining, no doubt. I was really impressed. All fans were impressed, and the pace of the action, and the visual of, I must say, the blood and the will to keep pushing forward. There
was theater to it. It was dramatic. It was
absolutely, yeah, absolutely, and it was awesome to watch. And I'm really happy that the following day we get to interview you. And I want to dive right into each round, round by round sort of assessment from your point of view. But before we do that, you mentioned something interesting about coaching and wanting to push people towards their dreams. What would you say is your coaching and leadership style? Kind of paint the picture of what motivates you to coach and drive people towards their dreams, because I think that's an important theme here.
I think right now in martial arts and mixed martial arts, and being a promoter and being someone who just generally always says yes, you know what I mean? I think that, within reason, like there's obviously levels and stuff, but like, I think we live in a culture of fear, and I think a lot of guys protect their fighters too much, and then what? And then you have a padded record, you got your 10-0, you go to the UFC and you get smoked. But the goal is not to have Mateo go to the UFC or Alex or any of the guys that are coming up here. Jake, is another one. He's 19 years old. He's undefeated. It's not to just get them to the show. It's to have them stay there. You know what I mean? And that is really, really important, and getting there is one thing, staying there is another. So, with Mateo, that's, he's fought for a belt, and then he's fought, I think, 5 out of 7 of his opponents have been champions, right? So,
right.
Where'd I go? You still see me, buddy?
Oh yeah, I can see you.
Okay, cool. Sorry. So yeah, just like that. Like, I follow a lot of like psychology and whatnot. I'm actually planning to go back to school one day for sports psychology, because you can't do that forever, right?
Nice.
I'd like to pursue that. Just the being in the zone of proximal development, being like following that Vygotsky's law of like, just putting a little bit more in front of someone that just a little bit more than they can chew, and then helping them chew it. That's my style. Taking fights that seem like tough, being the underdog and then rising to that occasion in the gym, so that you can rise to the occasion in the cage or the ring or whatever it is a huge part of my model. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But the people that can habitually rise to the occasion are the people that are going to find success and help us build what we're planning to build, which is, a Canadian legacy in mixed martial arts. And when I say that, I don't mean like the most students, I don't mean whatever. I mean like having like a legit camp here in Ottawa where there's 10, 15 professional fighters, you know, fighting all over the place. And that is what we're doing here. That's the goal, right?
It's interesting because since you started New Era Combat Sports, it seems like that the messaging has been consistent, you know, in terms of what you're envisioning for your athlete. Sorry?
Yeah, for sure. Why would I not be like?
No, it's no. I'm just saying, you know, there's been that sort of consistent vision, and it's articulated even in a lot of your posts. I see, you know, I follow you on social media, and I see a lot of the posts, and it's interesting too because you really you dive deep into the psychology, the sports psychology of combat sports and fighting. Let's dive right into
speaking on that, right? We're talking about like skill sets. Like yesterday, the skill sets were pretty even, but it was the mindset that took it away. You know what I mean? Like if you give me someone with confidence or like just a little bit of something extra inside of their stomach, some of that intrinsic competitiveness, as opposed to someone who's just as technical, maybe even more technical, you know, but doesn't quite have that like ability to pull the trigger. Maybe they're hesitating. Hesitating is the moment between winning and losing. We can't like, there has to be that nurturing of the mental side as well. And I think through hard training and through like constantly just saying the same thing over and over again, like we're almost like in the corner. I can't even describe the moments that me and Mateo had there. It was so cool. You know, he's bleeding. I'm like, you love to bleed. You're born for this. This is like in your ancestry. And he was like, yes, yeah. He's like, he's bleeding on the guy, like laughing at him like Fight Club. It was incredible. And like when someone's doing that to you and you're like just there to play a sport, you know, quite often I equate Mateo to like showing up to a tennis match with an axe.
Wow.
No, you know, he brings that different kind of mindset, right? So
yeah, it's interesting because I think this particular match, and I've seen all of his professional MMA, you know, his performances and so on. This particular match, I think, was one where you said his mentality was truly tested because, you know, with all the blood being pushed to the limit, relentless submission attempts, not being able to finish his opponent, and his opponent was incredibly tough. Nicolas Ouellet. Yeah,
he made a terrible mistake of underestimating him. We really didn't see him being able, just the way his hips were carried in his last couple fights, and like, you know, the level of his competition. We all as a collective did not see him being as good as he was, and that was like almost like even when Mateo was winning rounds, it was like, oh my god, he got mounted that round. It's like a loss. It's like it was like it almost affected me and Pete so much in the corner just to see him get mounted or see him get his back taken when we did not expect that. And so like, even though he won some of those rounds, you know, just to see him in these bad positions, it was like, shit, because that really hasn't happened very much outside of striking in his MMA career. And, you know, he was fighting a bigger guy going up a weight class, and the guy was absolutely a legitimate black belt who put him in a world of trouble, you know, and that to me was like, fuck, stay humble, man. Like, we're not, you know, like there's other guys out there that we don't really know about that can really hold it down, you know. So it was interesting, man. It was an interesting process.
If you don't mind me asking, I'm surprised to hear that you guys underestimated him. What exactly kind of why? Well, why did you underestimate him? Well, you're saying the way he carried the.
Yeah, just didn't have the competitive background. Like Mateo's had over 300 jiu-jitsu fights, right? He's had a lot of fights, and like we might have put too much clout on that. I'm not saying that we thought like he sucked. Like, he's obviously a black belt. We just thought Mateo would be much better, you know. But I guess there's an old saying: you can't sail on yesterday's winds. You know what I mean? So putting Mateo up on a pedestal here, and like just because he's had more competitions in jiu-jitsu, like doesn't necessarily mean there's not a guy out there that can test him like that. And it was you know, it didn't affect the outcome of the match so much, but it made him have to dig really, really deep
That's
like,
it. Yeah.
We all thought first round that arm triangle's in, sweet, great.
That's it. Right.
100%. It was like sweet. Then he got out and got on top. It's like shit. Then he got a cut. We're like, oh shit. I think I stopped the fight. Yeah. And wow, man, just interesting experience. That whenever you get too cocky or too confident, like life has a way, or this game especially, it's the chamber of truth in there. It has a way of always just enlightening you to keep you humble and just humility's best.
For sure. Now let's dive right into it. Right from the beginning, we noticed that there's no. I took some notes here last night while watching it. Believe it or not, there was no glove touch. Ouellet didn't want to kind of, follow the tradition. Why is that? What was that all about?
I personally think he was just trying to psych himself up, trying to be a persona, trying to whatever,
Right.
It's funny because like when Mateo was on top of him, bleeding and smashing him, I was like, touch his gloves now. There's always that. No, there's always like a little bit of psychology in the corner too.
Wow, you should record those clips, man. Those.
I wish it was recorded last. At TKO, they always had the mic on, right?
Right.
But this one didn't have the mic on. But there were some good moments in the corner where I guess it's just for me and Mateo. And Pete was Pete was not able to come in after the first round because the cut was so bad, right? But
I think for the fan user experience, like to hear what the coaches are saying, even those small little things are part of the experience. But let's dive right into it, because in round number 1, we see that there's a takedown attempt. We roll right into some ground fighting, some Niwaza action, and there's an exchange with leg locks. We go from leg locks, and then Mateo immediately, as you mentioned, goes for the arm triangle. That's like 70 seconds into the match. We're almost thinking, holy shit, it's over. What was happening there from your point of view?
Well, it looked like, Mateo was on his back, and then he got that choke. Then he got reversed, and it was just, in that moment, it was like, okay. And then I think he got mounted at the end of the round. It was like, okay. So when he came back, it was like I said, we were kind of like a little bit shocked that had happened, because Mateo doesn't get mounted but very often, and never in his MMA career at least. So he sustained some damage there too, and he was going for a triangle. He got some hammer fist, and his eyes are starting to swell. And came back, and I was like, listen, I want you to stand with him, right? And then second round, came out and started it, and then he got dumped, and the second round was tough, man. And it was a back and forth second round, but the other guy got a very good cut, landed a wicked elbow. I was at the hospital till 4 a.m. and then we had to get on the plane at 6 a.m. So
wow,
it's not much sleep last night, right? But he got cut pretty bad, and then it just took a lot of damage in that second, and then came back, and I'm like, that's as bad as it's gonna get, man. Like, this is it. This is what we signed up for. This is what you want to do with your life. Like, let's go. It's third round. You got to win the next 3. Can you win the next 3 for me? You love this shit. Like, you're made for blood on your face. You're made to be a warrior, right? Is this guy made for that? I don't know. Let's go find out. You know what I mean? Let's go push him. Let's drag him to the trenches. So it was like I said, it was a really couple powerful moments in the corner there where we just eye to eye, blood everywhere, and let's go. You know what I mean? And
right.
He convinced himself to go get it in the third. We turned it around halfway through the third, and then the guy broke. That was it, right? Like he still put up a fight, but you saw it go from first 2 rounds to that guy to I'm going to accept the bottom. I'm going to accept getting punched. I'm going to accept getting mounted. I'm going to get out of the submission because I want to try, but I'm tired because I didn't fucking do the work. You know what I mean? Or maybe I didn't do the emotional work. Maybe I didn't do. There's something that wasn't done where he broke in the third round, which is to me. I always say to the guys, like, fighting's about breaking. Who's going to break first? It might be quick. It might be lucky, quote unquote. It might be technical, or it might be this war of attrition, like last night, where all of a sudden you were dictating the fight, and now you've chosen to let the other guy dictate the fight. And yeah,
who would you say won the first round in your opinion?
For me, rewatching it, I would say Mateo won 4 minutes and 20 seconds of that round. But in the end, when he got mounted, or I don't know, just sustain some damage. It could have been a draw. I don't know.
I rewatched it again just before the interview, and I and I'm just a fan, right? But from my perspective, and I'm trying to look at it objectively, I'd say he definitely won that first round, hands down. Overall, as you mentioned, he dominated for more than 90% of the first round. So if you're a judge assessing,
he got mounted and hit at the end. So like, I think
right. But I mean, the sequences of attacks on the ground, say like 2 minutes right in the like 3 minutes in the first round, where we see him chaining all these submission after submission. Dude, it was spectacular.
30 submission attempts in a fight.
It's insane. I mean, it made a statement, and the announcers were obviously impressed by that as well, and so were the fans.
Was that good, he would have been done.
Pardon me?
A normal purple belt, brown belt like guy or MMA guy would have been done in that first head and arm choke.
Big time.
Hats off to Nick, right? Who made it into what it was with his resilience and technical knowledge and just his guts too, right?
Right. And
when I say he broke, like it's not like a knock on him. It's just what happened, like
right.
I would break too, you know what I mean? Like there's not a lot of people out there like Mateo who will never ever break. Ever.
Yeah, and I mean just being on the receiving end of all like the consistent, relentless pursuit of like submissions is just frightening for someone on the receiving end, and it's it just goes to show how technically proficient he is in his jiu-jitsu and his overall fight game. But round number 2, Jeff, like we noticed, like when you watch the fight again, 10 seconds into it, we see a massive foot sweep, Sasai Tsurugomi in judo, and like right from the get-go, the timing is beautiful. He dumps them right there.
He had great judo.
He did, and I mean he Ouellet really dominated. I think round number 2. And you mentioned the elbow strike. When you guys saw the blood and all that, obviously with the cut, what was your initial reaction at that moment?
The initial reaction was like, obviously, like number one is safety. Like I spend more time with him than I spend time with anybody. Right. All these guys like at the gym, they mean so much to me. I love them. Right. I love them like family. And I feel responsible for their health and safety, right? So initially I'm like, shit, like obviously like it looked like his eyelid was hanging off, but it wasn't. It was just like skin from, it was here, so it was fine. But my only reaction is like, how can we turn this into something good, So, like that's the reaction that should be for anything, when there's adversity, you just got to look for a way, and
right.
I think the blood really like called to his warrior spirit and made him excited. He loves that shit. It's happened in a bunch of his fights. Like his second fight, he got cut real bad. He came back and beat the guy. And in that fight in Philadelphia, oh man, like he got 10-8, 10-7 and knocked down 4 times in the first round. The legendary chin now of Mateo Vogel. He came back and choked the guy out, from Stanford MMA. Just how do you deal with that? You gotta kill him, man. You literally have to put him to sleep, or he's always in the fight. And that's it, man. So, man, it to me it excited me. I'm like, oh shit, here we go again, man. Got to win the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th, and I know he can do it because we weaponized his cardio. We worked so hard. Like the Wednesday before, I was like, I thought I collapsed his lung.
Wow.
That's what people don't realize. Like he's suffering. Like I train people so hard because I love them so much, and some people think it's me being mean or whatever, and those people like go somewhere else, and that's okay. But like if you want to be good, like I always talk about it. I posted about it, right? Like that last 30 seconds in a 25-minute fight, we turned it on because we trained to do that. And I'm screaming at him every day. The last 30 seconds and 24 minutes. We trained for the 24th minute and the 59th second. You can take 1 second off to put your hands up. You know what I mean? Like, and that really came to fruition. And like, like that last 30 seconds, he was just blasting still. The guy's like, ah, you know what I mean? It's
right.
I put him through fucking hell for this camp, man. We all did, and it paid off, man. It's not for everybody.
For sure. And like, what about the 1 minute mark into round number 2? Obviously, the ref stops the match to check the eye. At that particular point, did you guys think it was going to be a stoppage? No. Okay. Okay, good. And what about when we lead into round number 3? We notice, like, he starts off dancing. At this point, obviously, he's gone through a lot. Round number 2, would you say he lost or won?
Yeah, he lost his round number 2 for sure.
Right, and he
got beat up.
He did, but it's interesting because in round number 3, he starts just literally, he's bloody. Vogel is bloody, but he's still in it to win it. He's dancing in the middle of the ring. Sorry?
He's excited about it.
Yeah. It was hilarious to watch. What was your impression of that, starting off with that sort of energy right in round number 3?
Round 3 still, I think he got reversed, or he made a couple bad calls because Mateo's top game is so good. And he made a couple bad calls and going for submissions, and I think he fell for a guillotine maybe and ended up on the back. And and then there was that moment. This is the whole shift, the catalyst for the change of the inertia of the fight. And he kicked the guy off, underhooked. The guy, stood up, kind of pushed him down. The guy accepted, and he went down. And then Mateo started blasting his body, big punch pass right into the arm triangle, which him and Peter repped. The punch pass to the arm triangle like repeatedly. Like, we're doing reps in here, right? And then just got out, beat him up. Guys hitting him from the bottom. Mateo's hitting himself.
Right.
Come on. Like, you should have, like, he's like, come on. He's bleeding. Like, he's like, his blood on his face. Like, I don't know if this team, I watched the UFC thing on the airport there, and like,
right.
I don't know if it brought it justice, like, what a savage he was being. Like, just like.
It's funny because the announcers, they mentioned that, but the angle the angle the camera's on I don't think captured that moment. Obviously, we're not there and seeing it, but it was very dramatic. And you speak of that shift around like about a minute and 20 seconds where he just erupts, as you described it there, and he just unleashes. And would you say round number
10-8 too, right? Like, to be honest.
Sorry?
I could have been a 10-8, considering like he was just a mountain, just like smashing him, feeding him, and screaming at him, whatever,
And would you say that round was where everything, I think you already said this, where everything shifted in his favor, right?
Yes.
Right on. And in that ground and pound, there's 30 seconds left, and he's unleashing, and there's vicious elbows he's landing. How much training? Like, speak to us about the training, because you mentioned the arm triangle that him and Fasikas were training. What other sort of situational scenarios were you guys exploring for this match, or in general during the training camp?
In general, like, we had a pretty wicked game plan. It didn't really come to fruition, and that's okay. Game plans are game plans. It's an idea of what you hope might happen. I say fighting is usually between hopes and fears. Like, you hope that something, that what you want to happen is going to happen, then you kind of fear like the absolute worst case scenario. Usually, either one doesn't happen perfectly. It's usually found in the middle, and that's where all the ugly, amazing, organic nature of fighting comes out to play, right? Which is essentially what we saw. Like, ideally, we would have taken him down, arm triangle him right away, kicked him in the leg a couple times, taken him down. That was the game plan. The game plan, like, Mateo's leg kicks are so good right now. He's crippling professionals with him in the gym. He only landed a few because, the guy, like, he didn't have any pop on his punches really, Nick, but he was like punches and like try and grab because he wanted like to throw, right? So we didn't get really a chance to showcase that, which is fine because we'll save it for next time. But at distance right now, Mateo is like very, very dangerous. He was a little crowded. We couldn't quite get that off. And then eventually in the third, fourth, and fifth, he got a little flat, right? Because it's going to happen if you're in a 25-minute fight. You're not going to have the bounce, right? But the game plan was to kind of like take the legs. And then obviously him and Peter work pretty tirelessly. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on in that match, like with the leg entanglements and the matrix, and guard and all this crazy nonsense. And they at one point they were even exchanging barambolos,
Right.
just the escapes and this and that. Like a lot of it, like it was like way above my pay grade, to be honest. You know what I mean? But Peter's a magician, man. And in my opinion, he's my favorite jiu-jitsu coach I've ever worked with. He has a way of figuring things out. And, like, he's completely obsessed. He come in and he's watching videos, and then he does jiu-jitsu, and then talks about jiu-jitsu. And he's like nerding out about this new thing that someone's doing. And
Right.
He's a real student of the game. So like him, on the ground, on the bottom with the jiu-jitsu stuff, I leave that to him. With the mixed martial arts stuff, I leave that to me with the psychology stuff. A lot of that is like I'm kind of the guy that like glues it all together.
Right.
Alex O'Neill, like people don't realize how good Alex O'Neill is. Like he's sick. He's always just beating everybody up, like
Right.
everybody. So he was a huge part of this camp, because if you can try and stand back up with that guy on top of you, and you're having some success or whatever, like you're going to be okay against a 45er, right? So it takes a village, I guess. It takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a team to raise a fighter. And all props to the people involved, and of course, like props to Mateo for doing the work, because in the end it's him.
For sure.
He's the guy still like sacrificing everything about his life just to pursue this, and to see him win a belt, was a great moment, because I just know how bad that he wants it. He wants it so bad.
What does this mean to him? What did he express to you after winning the belt and so on? Obviously, there's a lot of emotion, I would imagine. But what did he communicate to you about that?
We did it, man. We did it. We set this out. We started. Like New Era Combat Sports. Like it was me and him and Peter, and that's it. You know what I mean? And then eventually like Taylor and everybody came. You know what I mean? And but like it was cool. It was cool because this was the plan. We're gonna make you into a champion, professional MMA champion, and 4.5 years later, homegrown from the ground up, that was done. And I look forward to seeing him again. They want him back in July, so it's for either maybe a champ situation or maybe of the 145er, because he is a 35er. He's a 45er, but he's a small 45er. So we got choices to make about what we're going to do with his career, and then we'll just take the tough ones, man. Keep going up. There's no going backwards. There's no easy fights. If they offer us an easy fight, we'll probably say no. Give us something tougher. You know what I mean?
Right.
Either collecting the 135-pound championship or staying at 145, whatever we figure out, right?
Right on. Let's go back to round number 4 now. Obviously, he won out number 3. This is where everything shifts. What do you recall from round number 4 that was really significant?
I recall he got thrown again, and he did some good work on the fence. Get some body. I think that was round 4. Get some body work in there. Maybe that was round 5. I'm not sure.
I think with the throw, I think that was round 3. I think that was a Harai Goshi off the fence.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was 3 from Ouellet. Really nice throw.
Okay.
But 4, there was some. I think there was a lot of striking. There was a lot of I think this was the longest match. The longest round with a lot of stand-up striking. So
yeah. I know he ended up on the bottom somehow though.
Right.
Maybe that was when he went for that one of those crazy guillotines, trying to get the choke, and then ended up on the bottom. I'm not sure. But yeah, his striking looked good. He kicked him in the leg pretty hard a couple times. That calf kick, it's I haven't been knocked out with a leg kick for a long time, man. He hits me with a couple of those. I'm like, So he hit a couple good kicks and landed some nice punches. Like obviously we still got some cleaning up to do with his striking, but against the fence, it was a more mature version. Sometimes there's like a desperation to win in his attitude and just general outlook towards fighting, because he always wants to be spectacular. But sometimes you just have to like let the winning positions take care of themselves and win rounds too, right? So I think it was a really mature round 4. Some back and forth grappling on and some good cage work, some good striking, and I knew that he would win round 4 for sure.
And leading into round 5, how confident were you guys in the corner feeling about his performance?
I knew it was 2-2. I didn't feel the way that I feel now about round 1. because just the way that it ended up, I think that was partly to do with my psychology, trusting the psychological solution instead of the logical solution. I was like, oh my God, he got mounted. You know what I mean?
Right,
like, oh my God, we're losing. Like that to me, like in retrospect, but in that moment, I thought we were 2-2, and I'm like, you have to go try and finish him, man. Go bite on your mouthpiece and just go, man, because you're fresher. We trained so hard for this. We trained for the last minute. We trained for the last round. We are last round fighters. You know what I mean? And again, a couple of special things were said. Wish I had them recorded because I don't remember what I said now, but it was fucking epic, man.
You gotta record those moments in the corner. That's like the magic. What I think Ouellet walks around. If I read an article somewhere, something where he's more around like the 160 pounds weight, and he cuts to 145. What are your thoughts overall on him in terms of his grappling and overall performance in this match? Obviously, round number 5, I would you say went to Vogel?
Oh yeah, like he was just punching him out. That was the best. Like the best because he's obviously had spectacular performances, right? But it was really rewarding to see that hard work pay off in the 5th round. He's ground and pounding. He's really doing his job as an MMA fighter. He's not playing jiu-jitsu with the jiu-jitsu guy. He's literally just punishing him and staying on top and doing what you do against a guy like that and taking him to the trenches. A really good jiu-jitsu ace is like an ace pilot. And, it's like someone who knows how to maneuver, can shoot. Like they're incredible. They're an Air Force pilot, right? But if you take that person and put him in the trenches, he might be fucked. And to me, like shutting him down like that and, just wiggling through the rubber guard and beating him up and then eventually finishing that last 30 seconds so strong was just a combination of a little bit of switch of mindset into more of like a mature MMA fighter that's doing what he has to do to win rounds too, as opposed to just desperately always trying to finish fights. Right. So I was really, really proud of him, of course. And Nick's big. Mateo walks around 175 sometimes too, right? So
wow. Okay.
He's a big, strong kid. He doesn't look like it sometimes, but he's got a really thick back and hard bones. And when he went off season, his legs get big and stuff. Just he's a thick guy, man. So I don't think there was a size or strength advantage. Like obviously, like Nick's a little bit taller or whatever, right. But strength wise, I don't think there was anything like that he hasn't seen before, because he's fought like Xavier Aloui, he's fought his last fight Damon Blackshear is now a CFFC champion, he's fought Garrett Armfield, he's fought black belts, but like he's used to it.
For sure. What just a few more questions. I appreciate your time here. I don't want to go over. Yeah, fair enough. Just a few more, like 2 more questions. What's you mentioned that he's going to go fight potentially in July. What are you guys what do you take away from this match in terms of lessons learned for him to focus on? Because I'm sure there's always something to learn and improve. Lessons learned,
Footwork, always going to be footwork. He's got big old feet, and he's got to use those. He's got to use his feet a little bit better. Just to set up the range. But at the same time, it works for him because when he gets in a war of attrition, he usually has more. A war of attrition is like who's going to exhaust resources before. Mateo will never exhaust his heart, and his gas is like beyond what you think it would be possible for a kid from Ottawa to have, right? Like he doesn't really get tired. Like those kind of battles like we saw yesterday actually serve him pretty well. I would like to see him a little more technical. I would like to see him a little more explosive. Depending on what we're going to do with his size, obviously we gotta either bulk him up a little bit and work on some functional strength and some punching power and stuff. I'd like to get him, as well, just his ground and pound and complementing his jiu-jitsu game, continue on that, because I was super proud of his ground and pound. Yesterday, he did a great job with the punch passing and the leg controlling, and And then he obviously used his high level jiu-jitsu to get out of bad situations and to use it defensively and end back up on top a bunch of times and go and threaten with his own submissions. I think 18 of them. But takeaways, it's just we're on the right path. That was a great performance. Let's keep going. Let's just keep it going because you can't rest on good achievements. We have to continue to go forward, right? So my question is now, what's next? Like, who's next? Who can we chase? That's a bigger, tougher test because, I want Mateo to be the underdog. And again, like that zone of proximal development, man. If you don't know what that is, you should look it up. It's a great way to teach people. It's a great way to teach
I'm going to Google it, actually. I'm going to Google it.
Okay, yeah, Vygotsky, man. It's Russian psychology, right? So you always just put a little bit more than they're capable of in front of them. And that's the thing that's a very masculine kind of trait. Fathers are very famous for that because you're going to, where a mother is usually pretty nurturing and whatnot, a father's always like, hey, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And, it's a very to me, I like some of these people's fathers at the age of 41 and they're 20 something. And I play this father figure role a little bit within the gym and their martial arts career anyway, their mentorship in this field, right? So I always want to try and bring out the best in them and to fight and to fight this and to fight the easy ones, it's never going to do it. So we're always going to try and rise to the occasion together. If we don't, we know why it didn't work and we'll study it and whatever. But, taking like a cerebral approach to someone's not only like fight by fight, but their career and how can we make this person improve at the fastest, like this expedited process of improvement, it revolves around taking chances with your career. Because there's a million guys out there that have never lost a fight that you've never fucking heard of. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they never beat anybody good. You know what I mean? There's a million guys that have gone to UFC and they come home and they get cut.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to me, like when I have a guy who wants it that much, like I'm going to make sure that I do this justice, like with his career and his management and whatever, and always try to choose the tough ones because if you can't beat that guy, he can't go to the UFC. Not ready. You know what I mean? If he can't beat the next guy, who's he going to fight next? I have a good idea in my head. I'm not going to make call-outs or whatever. But if you can't beat that guy, then why would we want him in the show? You know what I mean? Why?
Right.
So we can fucking come home? Like, no. Like, when we get him there, we want to keep him there. You know what I mean? And that's really, really, really important to me and for all the guys. It's not just getting them there, but winning. You know what I mean? So to do that, we need to harden them up with real tests and real tough fights. And make sure that they're properly prepared in all aspects.
Right on, Jeff. Well, thank you very much for this interview, man, and have a good evening.